Hello everyone, this is Food is a Conversation Alumni Edition. Today is the session 12 and our guest is dialing in from San Francisco, and she is one of the alumni, but she's even more than that. We'll tell about this and her connection to the network even more. Till then, till she's loading, a bit more about these conversations. We started it a few weeks ago to introduce ecosystem members. Hi, Chiara.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi. I will just quickly finish the intro about the conversations and we jump right in with the questions. So the conversations are held twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday. And we are introducing the ecosystem members who attended any of the educational programs organized by the Future Food Institute. Let it be the Food Innovation Master Program or the boot camps, what we organize with FAO, or summer schools, any kind of educational programs. And because they are all over the world, we host it in 2 different times so we can cover all the time zones. And you will hear about their stories, how their local food system is, what was their takeaway from the programs, what they attended, and how are they seeing their food future. I encourage everyone to post their questions in the chat, so we will make sure that at the end of this approximately 30 minutes conversation, we will answer them as well. And now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce Chiara Cecchini. I hope I pronounce your name well. I'm really working on my Italian, but this, C and everything with different words, vowels coming afterwards, I still mess it up sometimes. All right. So, Chiara, please tell us a bit about yourself, short introduction, where are you based, and what is your story with Future Food?
Okay, cool. Thank you, Julia. So my name is Chiara. I am based in San Francisco at the moment, but I am Italian, very much Italian. Born and raised in Florence. And then right now I am the CEO of Future Food Americas, which is Future Food's American branch, which is based here in San Francisco. And so what we are doing here is mainly focus on innovation for companies, for food and beverage companies, focus on sustainability.
Great. So you are also an alumni of the Food Innovation Program. And as I am, that's why as well. So you attended 2 years before me, if I'm not mistaken. So can you maybe tell me what is the path, what led you to joining this second level master program?
Totally. So my background is in business. So I basically did business school first in Florence, and then I moved to France for an international exchange. I was in Paris, fell in love with France and Paris specifically, so I wanted to stay there. So I decided to do my master in international business in Nancy, which is a very small city in the northern part of France that has a specific project, a specific program, which is basically linking few universities around the world, and one university was Bologna. And so we spent some time in Bologna as well as part of that French program. And while I was there, I actually met Sarah. So I met Sarah, founder of Future Food Institute. She was speaking at the class. And so we connected through that. We were connected on Facebook at the time. And then after that, I moved back to France, and then I went to Russia to do another master. So I was based in Moscow for a year. But during this process, I was connected with Sarah. And so she reached out when the Food Innovation Program was coming together. And at that time, I had an idea for a startup. I won an award. So I go back to Milan. And so we met up, I think, a couple of nights before Christmas 2014, speaking about the future. And I think from there, the Food Innovation Program became kind of a reality for me. I was super excited, actually, to join that.
Oh, the food innovation program is definitely a life-changing experience for the most of us, and it also gives you access to like not only like-minded people, but also opportunities to work on projects what you have maybe even started before, or encourage you to kick off something on the spot. So I know that you have been working on a project before you started, and it actually kind of became reality throughout the program. And so you founded a food tech startup, basically. Could you please tell a bit about Tdap?
Yeah, totally. So FIT was an idea that came together when I was in Moscow as part of my business school. It was actually a business project inside school, so it wasn't supposed to be at all a real business to start. But actually, everybody got excited in my school about that. And so I thought I might be apt on something. And so what I did, I applied to, with this very generic idea, before I explain the idea, I applied to an award which is launched by the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition for young leaders all around the world that are creating projects that are impacting the nutrition globally. And I got as one of the finalists. So 10 finalists from all over the world are selected. I got there. And this was like how everything kind of came into life. The idea at the very beginning was basically creating software that was tracking different behaviors throughout the days, mainly physical activity, sleep, and also like breath patterns and heart patterns. And this was the vision, and basically rewarding the healthiest ones. And so the idea was creating a rewarding system with a gamified way in order to allow people to be healthier and do healthier behaviors during the day. The way we wanted to reward them was through food. And so giving discounted or free healthy food in exchange of healthy behaviors. So yeah, we started as a B2C, so we built the app, Android and 3 apps actually, Android, iOS, and Windows as well. As a B2C, we got to around, I think, 6,000 users, mainly around Bologna. We had 9 stores in Bologna that were giving free food or discounted food to people that were achieving certain limits. So this was super exciting. The main obstacle we found that is very, very common is everything was designed towards the user, that I think is a very good thing, but not so much towards the buyer. And the buyer in this case was more a restaurant, because the restaurant was the one that was supposed to give discounts and free meals. And at the same time, it was very hard for them also to pay the platform because they were already giving discounts. So we found a little bit of problems in the business model there. And so as often happens, we decided to switch to a B2B model because we ask ourselves, okay, so maybe companies could pay to have healthy employees. Yeah. And so with that, we had a few companies that sign in, a couple of companies in Italy, and then actually Airbnb in San Francisco to basically do a program with their employees. So this was super fun. Yeah, I think this has been more or less the peak for the application. Because after that, I experienced a couple of challenges. I think one, the business model wasn't strong enough for companies to keep on paying. So it was very nice to have a one-off for 6 months, but then it wasn't a program that companies wanted to keep for years. And the other one was that it was honestly my first company. I was 24 and I was a single founder. And I think it was a very, very good learning experience. But I found some blockers, and at some point I kind of like decided that it wasn't the focus anymore for me.
So would you actually recommend to future like entrepreneurs, if they want to start off with something, then don't do it as a solo founder, but rather work on your team and then start to launch as a common project, so you can have like complementary skills and network as well, maybe?
I would. I do think there are examples of founders that have been thriving, also being a solo founder. But I found it very, very hard if it's your very first company, because you have a ton to learn and you're gonna have a lot of downs, and not having a close founding team with you every day to just balance your downs with some ups, it's going to be very challenging.
I see. So you already mentioned, so yeah, that happened kind of during and like parallelly with the food innovation program. And at one point you ended up in San Francisco. So what is the journey to America, to Future Food Americas?
Yeah, totally. So actually I came to SF for the first time with Sarah. It was, I think it was April 2016. We came here for a specific, it wasn't even a conference, but like I would say a meeting with Google Food for 3 days. But at the same time, we decided to add a few days. So I think in total we stayed a couple of weeks. We visited many companies, partners here, and we were here together with other two people, that Elisa and Antonio, that basically did with me the food innovation program, and they were becoming like staying close and being like kind of like fellows of the program. And so we spent these 2 weeks here, and I came back super excited. Honestly, I was very excited about the space here. I found a lot of good energy. I very liked the attitude of people, and so I really wanted to see if there was a space to do something here. So what we did is, I was still working with OnFit, and so what we did is that we also put together kind of like a next step that was for October. And so in October I came here, and we started this pilot within Airbnb for Tdap. At the same time, there was again this meeting with Google, so I attended that with Sarah. There was a food hackathon organized by Team West within Nestle. So there were like few things. So we're like, okay, we're gonna be back and we're gonna stay here another few weeks. And then actually I happened to stay until the end of the year with my 3 months touristic visa. But then I need to come back. So I came back for Christmas. I went back to Italy. And then when you pass to a new year, actually, your 3 months of touristic visa reset. So you can stay another 3 months. And so I came back, and you guys came here for the global mission.
Yes.
And so my idea at the very beginning was, I'm gonna stay here 3 months, help you out, and then we'll see with my touristic visa. And again, after 3 months, I was like, I actually like it a lot here. Maybe I could find a way to stay more. And at the same time, we were working a lot with UC Davis as part of the program. And so there was Professor Matthew Lang at UC Davis that was needing some help with his research. And so basically UC Davis, I got part of the program. I got a research visa through that, so I could stay here, and I was working on that. And through that, actually, things happen. I think this is happening everywhere. Here, it's happening maybe faster than the average. Yeah, maybe. But if you're here and you meet a lot of people, things are coming together. And so at the very beginning, I was more focused on how can we make the institute more present here in terms of programming, events, and so on. We got the partnership with the Maker Faire. And so we basically took care of all the food part inside Maker Faire in 2017. It was May here. So that was super fun and got us exposed to a lot of players in the Bay Area. That was very useful. And after that, we started more and more focusing on the business part as well. So how can we work more with food companies here? And I mean, this was a progression that took us to start a company here, which is Future Food Americas. We're actually turning it into a B Corp. It's almost official. So it's, I think in the next week or so, it would be official that we're going to become a benefit corporation. So yeah, and the goal is to be a little bit more independent in terms of business, because I think it's useful to operate here as a business and have an entity here. We hired a team here. We are growing, and so yeah, I would say it's totally unexpected. I came here thinking of staying 3 months, and now it's 4 years that I'm here. But it's been a very good journey. Yeah.
Nice. So, as you mentioned, everything kind of happened a bit faster there than what we here in Europe maybe are used to. And especially tapping into different networks and different players in the industry helped a lot to kind of set a foot in San Francisco and in the US. And next to this, so you already mentioned multiple names, universities, the Maker program, and so on. And I am always really inspired by the fact how many different things you do in the same time and how many different hats you are wearing. So I know that you are also part of the Barilla Foundation, like the Research Foundation, and other networks like the Summit and Sandbox. Could you please tell me a bit, how did you find these communities, and what do you think is your take out, or like your benefit or your learning being part of all these networks?
Totally. So yeah, I mean, BSFN, so the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition, it came together, as I said, because I got as a finalist into their YES program, which is Young Earth Solution program. As part of that, you're part of the alumni, and so I did some research work with the foundation, and right now I'm mainly like part of the alumni network. It's all these networks for me have been really important in just spreading increasing my network in general of people, very interesting people. Yeah, I would say mainly for that, like making connections. I really like being exposed to smart people and very, I think, inspiring people. And so I found myself being in contact sometimes with some networks, and I see a big value for me personally. I think one of the biggest examples is for sure, I mean, there are a few, for sure is the Global Shapers and Sandbox. Global Shapers is a community of young leaders within the World Economic Forum platform, I would say. There are a lot of hubs. I don't really remember the name exactly, but there are like hundreds of hubs all over the world, around 10,000 shapers all over the world, organizing these hubs. And so what happens is that there is a San Francisco hub, which means that here I have a network of 30 to 40 people, young, very inspiring, that are all doing social impact work. And we gather every month. We do some events. So it's a very good way to just build communities. And then, of course, if we do something with Future Food that could be aligned, I have a network to tap into to just bring people in. But it's for me also a good mental exercise to be always inspired and exposed to people who are raising the bar. And so I'm pushing myself to raise the bar as well. And I think Sandbox is very similar. It's a network, it's an international network of international young people all over the world. And the goal has been like very similar for me. So these are like very similar, different but very similar. Summit is an event which is happening mainly in LA, but also they have different locations, again, focused on social impact. Last year, they started a fellowship program. So I applied. I applied because a friend from Sandbox recommended me to apply. So again, the network effect is very interesting, I think. And so I applied to that. I got into the fellowship program. And so it's a 2-year fellowship program. I got access to this series of events that usually are very expensive, but I got in for free. And then there is a mentorship program. I got assigned to a mentor, she's called Sherry. She's very, very nice and very cool. So we meet every month for a session about self-development and leadership and so on. And then I met all the other fellows, which are other 70 people from all over the world doing social impact work. So I think it's very different. Like many programs have like different focuses. For me, it's mainly about challenge myself, raising the bar, being inspired, and have a network to tap into if I want to do some activity, I want to get a very good feedback. I think as the alumni of the Food Innovation Program, I have also other networks of people that I really respect that are helping me, and I'm very happy to help them when needed.
Is there any example where you actually joined someone on like for a project, or like you actually identified an opportunity to work together?
So right now there is a possible project which is gonna start, but it's not official. So let's see. So yeah, that's for sure. At the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition, I joined a couple of research projects around nutrition and cities. And this was very interesting. The project was already shaped, but they knew my interest on the topic, and so they asked me to join. So yeah, there are a few examples. So far for me has been more like high level support, leadership, founders, entrepreneurs, this kind of like topic. But I'm thriving more, as you're asking, like more like tangible projects, and I'm trying to have one with global shippers, and I hope this is gonna come together. Yeah.
Great. So you're approaching to the final question for today. I feel, especially now moving back to Berlin, I feel like nothing has changed and COVID never existed because there is like life on the street, but I think it is still something. The last couple of months resulted a lot of changes on everyone's professional, private, every like level of life. And that includes also our consumption and food procurement. How do you see your life changing in that area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think things are changing a lot and have been changing a lot. I was out for this weekend as well, and I saw a lot of people, and so it does seem that things are normal. But I think our definition of normal is changing and will be very much different. So for sure, for me, I would say more outdoor and more nature is in my life. As a consumer, I think this is impacting me a lot. I'm very interested in starting my little garden and grow my food because I have a bigger, like a stronger routine. And I'm more looking for outdoor spaces than I was before. And I'm seeing a lot of people close to me just like doing the same. Just like I'm not satisfied by a studio downtown because I don't know what to do with it. I rather go a little bit out of the city, but have a garden and grow my own food, for example. So this is one. As you know, I've been into baking a lot in the past months. This has been fun. I actually was doing a research, and on Google, it's seen that in the past, I think 6 months, the word yeast became number 7 on the overall search in the US before protective masks. So people looked for yeast more than for masks, which is crazy. So anyway, I'm part of the trend. I started my own sourdough, and I'm baking every other day. So that's very nice. I was very interested in beekeeping before COVID, and this is getting stronger. So I still don't have my own hives at home because of regulations and neighbors. But I have few beekeepers in San Francisco that I'm helping with their hives. And I'm helping them also in increase their outreach when it comes to selling their honey. Because their honey is just amazing. And I think not so many people have access to such good, high quality product. So that for sure. What else is changing in my, I think in general, more cooking from scratch, more ingredients, less processed food, even less delivery for me. I'm not very much into delivery, honestly. Having a kitchen and having interest in food, I really like to just cook from scratch. So I do think, and we saw in many projects, that the buying ingredients and turning restaurants in grocery stores because you want to buy ingredients, this kind of things is getting bigger, because I think it makes sense. At least for me, it does make sense to spend more time in the kitchen and cook my own food right now.
So I have a question about this beekeeping. Sorry, it's out of
Right.
my own personal interest. So we already identified that also during our global mission, that especially in cities now, it's a trend to start with beekeeping. I remember here in Berlin also the government actually gave support to beekeepers to have more hives. How does the setting change the quality or the taste of the honey? Because obviously in a city, the bees are having a completely different environment than if it would be in a forest or somewhere in a more rural area.
Yeah. So your question is about the quality of honey?
Exactly. So how does it, or the taste, or like how
Yeah.
would you like the characteristics, the difference in the characteristics? Yeah.
So I think in general, I'm very fascinated by the fact that bees are going very close to where you live to get the pollen. And so actually you're eating something that has all the pollen from your neighborhood.
Ah,
And
okay.
so I think in terms of allergies, there are a lot of research that shows that this is actually positive for you. Because you basically get some of the pollens that you're very much exposed to during your days. So that's nice. Of course, it depends where you live. In cities like San Francisco, there are a lot of parks, and so a lot of flowers. And so you cannot actually say that you have a specific monocultural honey because there are so many different flowers that it cannot be just one specific flower. So it's wild flowers honey. But in terms of flavor, I would say it's mainly for the pollen and because it really reflects your neighborhood and your city. But what I found, the reason why I find it also very fascinating is that there are a ton of people, like beekeepers, that are very, very interested in just keeping these bees alive and making sure that you keep some honey out for human consumption, but you also leave a lot of honey in for them to be fed because it's what they're fed by. And so they're very, very cautious. And I think this is very, very important. And for them to survive and thrive in a city, it's also important that they sell their honey and they sell it to a very good price and fair price. And it's very challenging because the industry has led us to a point where we eat honey for very cheap price without paying so much attention to the quality. It's also raw honey, which is the honey that you're supposed to eat, is not so common right now because everybody, a lot of big companies started to cook the honey to basically warm up the honey because at that point it's better looking, but it's not good for you. So I think there is a big space for increasing awareness and education around honey and give beekeepers what they deserve.
Yeah, and like give them actually a platform where you can find them, right?
Yeah,
Because
totally.
I think that's also the disconnect is definitely present there. So now, as a final sentence, how would you describe your preferred or wished food future?
My wished future. So in terms of system, not a
Yes, I would
specific
say so.
dish.
Yeah, yeah.
Hyper local, and from scratch. I would like the food system to be about ingredients and not about meals. Meals as a result of the ingredients, but I would love our system to move away from everything which is ready to eat and go back to ingredients because it's gonna feed our day with more hands-on approach, more knowledge about what we're eating, and so I think also with higher quality.
Yeah, I really like this. I will quote this because I think it kind of relates to the Learning Kitchen roadshow what we did with Barilla last year, where we actually showed Generation Z that you don't need to have recipes to follow. You just need to understand the ingredients, their flavor profile, their seasonality, and there is endless possibilities what you can make out of something. So I really hope that this will become rather standard and not something unique to what we still need to teach, but something what will be like a generic approach towards our nutrition.
Yeah.
Chiara, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm really happy that we heard all these insights, and I will encourage everyone to look up all those platforms we have talked about, reach out to your network, and yeah, do something for your food future. Our next conversation is on Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Central European Time. We will have an alumnus from last year's bootcamp. And yeah, please follow us on Instagram and all of the social channels. Some of the videos will be available on our YouTube channel, thanks to Instagram's change a few weeks ago. And this conversation will be immediately posted on IGTV. So if you didn't have the time to watch the whole conversation, it will be available forever. So thank you, Chiara, for your time. Have a lovely day, and we stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.